Give it up, son. I'm coming for you. You can't hide from the bird. I really enjoy that. That makes me more afraid of Daemon. The hard ass like Turbo can be like, oh boy, there's whipped cream where we're going, boys. Just absolutely just fucking bananas, lost his mind. You can't take us all. And I know how many men you Matrixes can take on. Trust me.
Know how many men you Matrixes can take in one night, boy.
Matrix is like, I told you, I'm not gay. And
Alphanumeric. ReBoot.
You're prepared for a giant monster made entirely of nulls stomping around mainframe? Andrea, Enzo was trying to be funny. What's a good at? You can't talk in these things.
An icosahedron.
Icosahedron every day.
Sometimes twice a day.
Good evening and welcome back, beautiful humans, to Alphanumeric, the world's foremost reboot podcast. I am Lady Glitch.
And I am one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And I'm NeoCal.
Who I just talked over. I apologize for that.
I'm so used to going second. No matter who it is, I'm like...
I know a lot of the times I have a tendency to, when I'm not the one doing the introduction, I have a tendency to go last a lot of the time. But, this time I decided to change it up and, fuck shit up and kick ass and take names and...
chaos.
Yeah,
Chaos.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, Mass Effect,
He's and the bunnies.
Dragon Age, The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind. I don't know. I'm just babbling at this point. Anyway, hello everyone.
Hello, adoring fans.
This is episode 45 of Alphanumeric, like Lady Glitch said. This week on Alphanumeric, we're talking about season 2. No, that's wrong. We're talking about episode 2 of season 2, Crossnodes. Crossnodes. It originally aired in the United States of America on October 19th, 2001. And it originally aired in Canada on YTV on November 18th, 2001 as part of the hour-and-a-half-long movie Daemon Rising, which comprises the first 4 episodes of season 4, which we talked about at great length last week. But I'm buckle up, because I'm going to mention that caveat like every single episode in some capacity going forward, because it's I'm kind of a nerd for little details like that.
And speaking of little details, just even jumping ahead a little bit, the way that the US episodes were constructed, it's an episode by episode viewing, and with episodes 2 through 8, they have a recap of the previous episode with a narrator voiceover of last week on ReBoot. Clip, 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 clip.
I noticed that kind of caught me off guard when I was watching this on Crave earlier. Crave being a Canadian streaming service that I've talked about on the show before. But Crave actually has it split up into individual episodes, just like the US syndicated airing. But yeah, the recap at the beginning really caught me off guard. I'm like, oh, that's new. Has there even been another episode that had a previously on ReBoot?
No, yes, Identity Crisis Part 2, because it does recap Part 1 before it goes into...
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a million years ago on this podcast.
Basically never happened.
That was what, like, that was episode 12 of the podcast, and we're on episode 45 now. That's like
And I didn't even know y'all existed.
We're
back then.
basically different people.
Yeah, basically, you know, I don't know. I have nothing to say to that. Anyway, let's get into talking about the episode. Episode Crossnodes opens with a bit where so we all Christina, Cal, we all love ReBoot, correct?
We wouldn't be podcasting about it if we didn't love it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
You ever have moments watching this show that just make you want to shut it off?
Yeah.
They're few and far between, I will say.
Mm-hmm. But they're there.
What they're there. One of them, there was an entire episode of moments like that. It's a little thing we like to call high code.
Season 2, episode 2.
This episode opens with one such moment where we get Mike the TV dressed up as James Brown according to Wikipedia, in a scene homaging Blues Brothers 2000, which was a fairly recent movie at this point.
Hear the word of, hear the word of, hear the word of.
Yeah, so he's James Brown, the TV, is singing this song, complete with like a gospel choir and everything, like the song "Hear the Word," in front of Daemon, and I'm not gonna lie, I found this a little insufferable.
It's so Mike the TV though. We know he's obnoxious.
Yeah, and I am a fan of Mike the TV, typically, but this bit just doesn't work for me.
Them doing the clapping gospel and being like, infection got me, infection got me. I'm like, weird thing to be listening to in 2022.
It's like so dumb.
Yeah,
It's
good
like
point.
you hear a word and your code is restored. It's like, I guess anything Mike can do to not be deleted by Daemon, he's gonna do it. Because you can see Daemon's like very pleased and she's enjoying herself while watching this thing happening in front of her.
I'm not thinking he's doing whatever he's doing to not get deleted. I think he's just being Mike the TV.
Who's been infected by Daemon. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's just kind of like, this is better than sitting here in like silence. That was how I took it, because she's like, ha ha ha, she claps like 3 times and then just goes about her day.
She seems pretty sincerely into it. She is kind of childlike and like innocent.
Yeah, when you were talking, yeah, it's like, it's interesting that you're like, oh, she's a hot French chick in the last episode of Alphanumeric, and I was like, isn't she like, like a teenage girl that's just has way too much power? Like, regardless of her age, I'm not going to get into that like can of worms, but she just seems like a girl that has this magic power, and like she believes her own gospel. There we go. That's what I'm trying to spew out.
Okay.
But like, nobody's been able to just talk with her in earnest and be like, hey, here's lady, here's why we like freedom, because she's just like, but you do not know true love unless you have heard the word. And oh man, I know people like that. I know like cute or like really good looking people that just like coast through lives and everyone's afraid to tell them they're wrong because they're good looking.
Yeah.
Or cute, or they have rich parents. Do you know what I mean? And they just are surrounded by yes men. But her yes men power is like literally like a superpower. So she can't have anyone argue with her even if they wanted to.
It's like modern day school teachers, like not being super afraid to tell like the star quarterback or that kid whose parents were on the school board has like a fuck ton of money, or to like give them the grade they actually deserve, and they have to get all A's because they know that influence that they have in the community, and you know, like the parents and the parents' friends of the parents are all just gonna like storm in on them.
The school's
Like,
just riding
yeah.
on that one person getting that sweet scholarship.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good, that's how I'm feeling here. I'm
That-
feeling
Yeah.
like somebody who's immune to her needs to be like, shut up and sit down, lady.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care about the blowback. Shut your face and sit down.
But they can't. Like, you
Yeah.
can't even go near her. Yeah.
And see, all I was gonna say is it's like everyone around her are just like her Twitch simps.
Yeah, well, and again, Christopher and I have talked about this, especially in like preamble stuff. Like any Patreon combing through that stuff knows how I feel about this. If you just surround yourself with yes men, right? You have this very fragile ego where you think you're the coolest ever, and then as soon as someone tells you you're not, you kind of like lose your shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
I
seen it
haven't
happen
seen the
to
rest
people.
of this season, but I'm predicting something like this happening to her. Like someone's gonna be like, "Hey, you're a bitch," and I don't want to listen to you, and she's gonna lose it. Sorry, you were saying you've seen that happen?
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen just in workplaces in the past.
Somebody telling somebody like, "No, you're wrong," or "That's stupid," and they can't handle it.
I had a boss of mine like go like completely ape shit on me, like quite literally like yelling at me in the receiving bay just because like I called him out on a double standard, and he like completely like just flipped his shit about it. And I ended up just walking out and quitting.
Well,
'Cause I'm like, you can't talk to me this way, dude. I had already been planning to leave anyway. Like I'd given notice. And it was just like it was a stupid thing about like basically like I had gone on I won't hang on this too long, but I had gone on my break like at a different time than when I was scheduled for, which is a thing people did all the time.
mhm.
And including like this guy's like kind of like favorite in the department that I was in, like did that all the time and would actually like frequently like just leave like during his shift and like come back, and like the manager knew about it.
Mhm.
And so I pointed all that out, and like he just like fucking flipped and like went ape shit and was like calling me names, and like in hindsight I probably could have like filed some kind of suit against him. But yeah, I'd already given notice anyway. And so like after all of this, like after this big shouting match we had in the receiving bay, I'm just like, no, fuck you, fuck this store. Fuck all of you. I'm leaving.
And especially you.
Not you. You're cool.
Yeah, exactly. Except those like handful of people over there that I kind of like.
Yeah, you guys are cool.
Yeah.
It's satisfying to kind of make
Mhm.
a grand exit like that.
It is.
Now,
Yeah.
The biggest grand. Go ahead.
Speaking of grand exits, when I worked at Universal, everyone would always talk about, I'm going to be up in the control booth, and my last day, I'm throwing the e-stop on this ride, and I'm walking out.
Mhm.
People that have done that and just left the guests hanging on that attraction.
Amazing. I wouldn't be mad if I would be the guest. I'd be like, yeah, you go. Fuck these guys.
Right?
I left a store once and ordered an entire pallet of milk on the day that I was leaving. An entire and this was a store that did not sell a ton of dairy. So like an entire pallet, like this wasted money for the company because all of that shit was going to expire, and like I probably like cost them like at least like a couple $1,000s.
Nice. Yeah, the biggest like fuck you exodus I ever did was like in front of like customers, and I was all like manager like being like weird and like snarky and like shitty, and same thing, everybody knew they were like two people had given like their notice, right? And one of the people gave their notice had like literally quit the day before. Right, and they were like actually being really rude, but like you that guy flipped his shit on your face, but like there were customers around, And I was like, oh, so yeah, this is probably why blah blah quit yesterday. Excuse me, blah blah blah. Like, do you want to say like something to my face? And they had just like started their lunch. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. And I smacked their Subway sandwich out of their hand and just walked right out. And I was expecting no reaction or whatever, but like, yeah, they followed me and like put hands on me, and then it got
Jesus
into a thing where like customers like intervened so that we didn't like fight, like did the break it up.
Come
Yeah,
on
so
now, come on now, boys, take it outside. Not
no,
in
not
here.
yeah. But if they weren't there, I would have had a better story, let me tell you. I touched his sandwich, but I didn't get to punch him in the teeth. So next
There you
time.
Well, when life gives you sandwiches, punch it out of someone's hand.
Life gives you Subway sandwiches. A guy named Cal is gonna smack it out of your hand and call you a bitch.
Speaking of calling people a bitch, Rhinox shows up and he's like, "Listen, my lady, I got some bad news." And we cut away to Enzo and AndrAIa like flying around on their space bikes.
Was she touching eggs? Am I
Yeah,
wrong? Did I miss something? Was she touching giant Easter eggs?
Yeah, she was touching giant. Sorry, I forgot about that part.
I was paying attention to this. I watched this earlier, and I'm like, I don't remember her touching eggs.
Yeah, she gets off of her throne. She's like lightly touching the eggs as she walks down. She's being pretty little princess before Rhinox comes along. He's like, yo, we got problems, bitch. And then we cut away, space bikes.
Yeah.
And back in the war room, Bob is like, we got the first firewall online.
Well, and they figure out that like what kind of Daemon's MO is that she's not infecting systems directly. She's infecting the
pathways
between them. Which I'm like,
what?
Well, I'm not even sure if this is like real, like computer talk, but it sounds like it isn't to me.
It could just
what
be
you do is before your computer gets infected, you take your Ethernet cable and you toss that in the garbage, and that gets rid of Daemon.
You just violently unplug the Ethernet cable.
Yeah, rip it right out. Don't give her a chance to infect it with her eggies.
Yeah, with her Easter eggs. Yeah, you dramatically like just rip out the Ethernet cable right as her infection is about to enter like into your Ethernet card of your computer.
Problem solved.
Yep.
God help you if you have Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, you just got to rip that out.
You just got to rip that out.
Yeah, rip the Wi-Fi out.
just grab your Wi-Fi router and throw it in the bathtub.
Oh, I'm seeing now they're chasing a Guardian in another system. Throw it in the bathtub. They're chasing another Guardian in a different system, AndrAIa and Matrix, and she's holding one of the eggs. Okay, I see what's going on now.
So what do the Easter eggs do?
I guess we'll
we'll find out later, but spoiler alert, they're spores for infection.
Oh.
Okay, so she leaves them there, and even if the Guardians are purged from that system and it's closed off, they're all going to hatch at the same time.
Yep, and that's how she can control the net without having to exert so much energy. She got her minions to do it all for her.
Oh, okay, so that's why the stuff goes down at the end of the episode. I wasn't entirely clear about that.
Okay,
I did watch this, I swear.
Yeah,
right?
and then Bob
I watched it twice.
Bob, Mouse, and Fong are talking about this in the war room, and essentially they explain like Daemon controls the pathways. You're throwing the eggs into the pathways, and that's how she can control the net without exerting energy. Meanwhile, we see Dot, and she's looking at her data pad, and she's got hexadecimal on there, and she's going back to the previous episode, trying to figure out what's happening with hex and the nulls and all that happy horse.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And then,
On what's
Mou-
going on. So go ahead, Chris.
Chris.
Sorry, Christopher. We had this conversation today. I'm sorry.
between Chris and Christopher and any other like shortening, please call him Topher. If you're gonna shorten Christopher, call him Topher.
Oh my God.
Go for Siege. I'm Christopher Siege or the Siege.
Gladiator Siege.
Gladiator
The
Siege.
Topher.
The Topher. Yeah, I changed my name on Twitter today to Gladiator Siege. Because we had a coworker of mine was asking like what my exotic dancer name should be. So I asked Christina what she thought my exotic dancer name should be, and she was like Laser or something American Gladiators themed. Or Laser with an OR, like laser comb. And I'm like, huh. And so I got the idea to change my name on Twitter to Gladiator Siege.
I should think about what mine is.
Well, I already have mine, so
Yeah.
Gladiator Sky.
yeah, that's right. And Sky is actually an American Gladiator's name.
Well, so is Laser.
It is spelled different.
Yeah. Turbo. Nitro. They all had fucking like just so like a hype, like early 90s names.
Bill Conti did the theme music for American Gladiators. It is one of the most bomb-ass theme songs I have ever heard composed.
Oh, it's great. I've thrown it at the end of several podcasts.
Yeah.
I actually, listeners, this is if you hear the American Gladiator, like it's not entirely random when I put the American Gladiators theme at the end of an episode. I put it, it's like the end credit music of American Gladiators. I put it at the end of the episode where we've completed something.
Yeah.
Like if we've completed a season of a show or whatever.
We ran the gauntlet, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Why?
that's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain there.
I like that. I did not even know that. So thank you, Siege. Fun fact.
Today we learned.
Speaking of learning,
The Guardians.
Velman is giving a seminar.
Oh, before that though, Mouse mentions that the Guardians aren't the Guardians shouldn't be able to be sealed off because they Mouse like seals off all these systems, and she's like, oh, the Guardians we shouldn't be able to seal them off, but
They can make portals.
we are. Guardians should be able to make portals, but they're not using portals.
I
So why?
noticed that. I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, they're not using portals. Keep in mind, listeners, like I'm going in this like fresh. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of season 4. And in the first episode, Daemon, who was like, oh, wait, Bob has fused with his key tool.
Mhm.
He'll be a great messenger. So I'm under the assumption that when Daemon infected the Guardians, it severed their tie with their key tool.
True. I have not seen any Guardians using key tools as of yet.
I never thought about it until Mouse's comment. She's like, wait a second. And the viewer knows that inherently because, well, of the first episode of the first season. Like Megabyte needs Bob to open a portal to the supercomputer.
I will say it does get explained.
Yeah.
And you are on the right track.
Yeah. Figured something. Also Turbo back in season 3.
Yeah.
When Turbo meets Matrix and AndrAIa in that bar. We keep calling it Mos Eisley, but but in the bar of like Desert Harbor Town. Did that system have a name? I don't remember.
It was no
Mos
system-
Eisley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There we go. He was like, oh, you still got your key tool or Bob's key tool. Good. And he kind of made a big deal of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
there's
and
something going on there.
He still had his at that point too.
He was still in control.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He's
didn't have
definitely-
direct contact.
He's definitely not in this episode anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We'll see him a little bit later.
And then we cut back and we see one of the Guardian spaceships kind of crashing.
Take
bit.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a flashback to Wellman Matrix giving like a prep speech. I really, really dig this. Because it reminds me of kind of like an astronomer geek, like, you know, turn of like the 20th century,
Mhm.
like thinking about how there are multiple galaxies out there.
Yeah.
And the galaxy is not the universe, because he's talking about, oh, there could be other systems out there.
Mhm.
I would also like to point out directly to his right is a Stargate.
Oh, it's a Stargate. Christopher and I always point out Stargates in these freaking cartoons. But this is without question that
This-
Stargate from the episode.
This has chevrons on it. It has symbols like all around it. Like, yeah, this is a very, 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 very direct reference to Stargate.
This is the second time we've seen a Stargate on ReBoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least.
And so Wellman Matrix is kind of like his seminar that he's giving is he's hypothesizing that there are other systems and that they can go to them and travel them, and all they need to do is find the ancient star charts and find a working DHD to connect to the Stargate and figure out what Mainframe's point of origin is, and then they can dial any possible combination of seven addresses, 7 digits to create an address, to create a lock, and we can cross, which will initiate a portal, and we can cross through the event horizon to land on the other side. Listeners, I really like Stargate.
I was expecting a Go Old reference in there, or Jafar.
But the limitation is we can only keep the wormhole stable for 38 minutes.
Just enough time for one episode.
Actually, it does come into play in a number of some actually pretty good episodes. There are some episodes where the gate is stuck open, or they have to keep the gate open for one reason or another, and it creates a lot of tension.
Stargate question. So what if there's time dilation, right? So let's say a planet with a Stargate is orbiting close to a black hole.
I'm glad you brought that up. There is an episode where there is a planet that is actually about to be pulled into a black hole, and because of the time dilation, the gate won't actually close, and the gravitational pull of the black hole, because they were trying to dial back, because Stargates are one way.
Yeah.
You
have to dial Earth to go back.
Yeah. So you can't like walk through a portal on like from Earth to like say Abydos, and then with the portal still open, just step back. If you do that, you'll die. You'll be disintegrated.
Yeah.
You have to close the gate, and then on the other side, dial Earth and open a new wormhole. So what happened is this team of Marines was on a planet that was about to be destroyed by a black hole. They dialed to Earth, and when the wormhole opened, because of the gravitational pull of the black hole, the gate wouldn't close, so it stayed open. And they're like, oh well, we'll just wait for it to close in 38 minutes. 38 minutes goes by, but because of the time dilation, it stays open. And not only that, the gravitational pull of the black hole that the other planet is like suffering actually starts coming through the gate itself and starts like pulling things toward the gate. It's a really, really good episode.
Well, there we go. And now it's canon on ReBoot.
I can't remember what the name of the episode is, but it's a really good episode.
Cross nodes. Anyways, I really like this because it feels very much like someone getting excited about getting the Hubble telescope, or very recently the James Webb telescope,
Mhm.
operational. And I don't know, it's really cool to think that in their lifetime they went from not knowing if there were other systems to they're aware that there's like a globe and it's covered in infinite systems and people and places.
Yeah. And Dot does like a mock like Q&A with Wellman, just to like get him prepared for whatever questions may come his way. And Wellman looks at Dot and he's like, Dot, you'll be here for me, won't you? Like right by my side in case I fuck up. And then the scene cuts back to Dot in front of Null Wellman. And like, I wasn't there with you, Dad, but you were right. There are other systems and peoples out there. Not all of them are nice though. And then she just like starts bawling like right into Bob's chest because like, Dad, I need you right now. And she's
I
like,
know, it's
I
sad.
felt for her here.
right now.
It'd be one thing if it was just a bunch of nulls surrounding Hex, because that has happened before, but like the body horror that is the possibility of him like being trapped and I find that like scary.
Yeah.
And what's happening to Bob? Bob starts like phasing in and out.
Yep, he's fading in and out. And it's not the first time it's happened at this point in the episode. It happened right when they were leaving the war room as well. And even in the first episode, he's been doing this whole fade in and out kind of thing. So merging with Glitch back in season 3, Glitch was already damaged. And this was one of the caveats that he probably had in that conversation during Mousetrap with Glitch. That
I forgot about that.
It's like, the consequences, potential consequences of merging with the busted key tool. And he was willing to accept those consequences for the greater good, what was happening.
See, I was just thinking that he was running out of time in his efforts to get his mom and dad to go together to the Fish Under the Sea dance, so they can hook up and he can be born and go back to the year 1985.
Right, and the more his mom actually has the hots for him, the less shot his dad has.
Yeah,
you know how it is when you try to help your dad score with your mom, but you end up helping like the bully, yourself.
Yeah, and you just slowly like parts of your siblings just start slowly disappearing from a picture you have of them, and then when for some reason, like, you end up being like the last of the 3. Oh, I guess because he's the youngest, actually. Maybe.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought it was just because he was the one affecting the timeline.
Either or.
Yeah.
But yes.
Speaking of the youngest, though,
we're talking about Back to the Future. No, I actually
we swear we talk about ReBoot on the show.
I know what's going on with Bob.
Young Enzo Matrix is like watching TV, or it's like a play.
He's watching old episodes of like the mainframe strolling players reenacting scenes from episodes, and what we're seeing right now is the Gods, Mortals, and Demons game from season 3, episode 4, Game Over.
The mainframe strolling players, is that their name?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
That's those actors that we always like.
Yeah, like in the episode AndrAIa, when he's watching another episode of them reenacting The Quick and the Fed, which is season 1, episode 3. Same people. And it's also the same people that did the Prog musical. So
We've always enjoyed that.
I just didn't know that they even had a name. That's cool. Yeah. The world's foremost reboot podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
So Enzo is like he's watching this like rendition of like Immortal. Actually, wasn't the game called Immortal Conflict?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, he's watching the rendition of Immortal Conflict, and like we all know what happens in that episode, and that gets reenacted, and Hack and or Slash like start crying, and
they're babysitting him for some reason.
Yeah, keeping guard.
whatever.
I like in this moment, Enzo is like completely unfazed by it, but Frisket kind of like hangs his head, and I'm like, yeah, because Frisket was there. He was there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like-
And this is a reboot of Enzo before he
Yeah.
even turns 1-0.
So he's watching himself go through all of these adventures, and he's just like, everything turns out fine in the end. I mean, I become Matrix. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, I just I kind of liked the like Enzo is unfazed by this because like it's a new version, well, it's an old version of Enzo, but who hasn't gone through all this. But Frisket is actually kind of moved by it because it's the same Frisket. He experienced all of that firsthand.
Dark times, yeah. And I like how instead of finding his own identity, young Enzo, you must blah blah blah, because Fong comes in, he's like, young Enzo this, young Enzo that, and it reminds me a lot of season 1. And he's like, I'm a guardian now, and I'm big, and I got a badass gun and a hot biker chick on my arm. Call me what does he say?
Little Matrix.
Little Matrix, yeah.
And he boots into like current Matrix with the vest and the pants. And
so what happened there? Did he like hit his icon, or did the camera just shift and come back? And
yeah, he hit his icon, and there he is right there.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel being like, kid, your pants are too tight. Stop it. And indeed, even it's weird. He's got the same earrings and hair too. Frisket looks up at him, kind of like, dude, what are you doing?
It's like, not this shit again.
Right? We already have one edgy, badass renegade. We don't need two. Be your own man is what I'm trying to say, young Matrix.
And then
yes, indeed.
Yeah, after the tantrum, we head to a new scene. And
Back
it's a
to the
new
system with AndrAIa.
Yeah, back to the system with AndrAIa and Matrix. And we see a guardian that looks very similar to the one AndrAIa fought in season 3, episode 8 in the Mos Eisley system.
The one she poisoned by shooting in the neck, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, is this her? Did she wake up later?
This one doesn't have a robot arm. Is that one?
Maybe it's her twin sister, also completely different voice.
Yeah.
Oh, she does look different. Yeah.
She like the model looks the character model looks almost identical, but that one had a robot arm, so it's not the same character.
So
they're just reusing assets, you see.
Yeah. About the scene, she's all like, oh, like, you can't harm me because I have Daemon protecting me. And Matrix is like, suit yourself, and he whips his gun out, and AndrAIa stops him.
Yeah.
But
AndrAIa
then go ahead.
Communication during this. She's trying to, and this is a crisis communications tactic that you have to get on their level. So it's like you speak calmly to them. You ask them about what their interests are, what's going on in the moment. And she's like, tell me about Daemon. Tell me about the word. Because these infected guardians, they're all about the word. So
Except that fails miserably because she immediately kills herself.
Yep.
So Enzo should have just shot her dead, and he could have stole the egg.
Yeah, she's
So
like,
for
the
once,
word.
violence is the
She's like, oh, I will tell you about the word. And she leaps and she's like, it's bird.
Fuck all y'all, it's bird. And she puts the egg into the energy beam of the what's that thing called? The principal office's core. There we go.
Yeah,
core.
Yeah.
But if Matrix had just shot her dead, they could have got the egg and she'd still be dead.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Like, she's trying to listen to Bob. Maybe they can be cleansed, in which case it's like the zombie apocalypse scenario where people are like, oh, we have to try to save them. They're just infected. Bro, if you're dead and you don't have a heartbeat and your like limbs and stuff are like rotting and falling off, you're getting a bullet to the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're like 28 days later, like rage zombie infected or like whatever, you're still human. You don't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
What's your opinion? What's both your opinion on just shooting these people dead or doing non-lethal maneuvers?
For me, I think it depends on what it's going to depend like on a case by case basis and what the actual situation is, like, because like sure, ideally, yes, let's maybe try and use non-lethal force to subdue the Guardians until we can figure something out. But if it gets to a point where it's either you or them,
Mhm.
You have to defend yourself.
It's going to be them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to agree with Christopher on that. It is a case by case basis. You have to analyze, like, does it look like they're up for conversation? Are they going to hurt somebody around them? Are they going to hurt themselves, etc.? And you have to like finagle your way to de-escalate that situation, but using lethal force as a final option. Like,
Right.
I would exhaust all of my tactics before going, hand to hand or weaponry combat.
I tricked my fellow co-hosts into talking about police using lethal force, and when it's justified
I was just going to say, Lady Glitch, you'd make a terrible copper.
Happens, but I make a great negotiator.
So it sounds like
I'm joking. You would be a great cop in that
So it
sense,
sounds
because
like
that's
all
how
of
it
us-
actually should be.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like all of us would be in the same situation where we wouldn't shoot this lady because Andrea has a point, Bob has a point, but we'd be in the same sitch as them. We'd be like, oh crap, she offed herself. And that made me realize something. They're more than just like devoted. They don't even have
Self-efficacy,
yeah, like they
their own agency.
self-preservation like
Yeah.
is out the window. They're literally reprogrammed, which
Yeah,
is scarier than just liking Daemon a
like-
whole bunch.
Religious cults are. They reprogram your brain. They literally rewire your brain into like that way of thinking. That's the way Daemon operates. It's very like real world when you think about it.
I'm just saying the Buddhists don't have a god that asks you to die for them.
Mhm.
Buddha's like, no man, live your life. I don't
Yeah,
want you
in
to
order-
die.
And or because we have no God.
Yeah, just chill.
And
Or if
Damon's
there
just
is-
like, and
if there
Damon's
is
just like,
one, he doesn't
let's
want you to
not
die
make
for
this
him.
another Waco now.
Right?
Oh Christ!
Christopher, down here,
Sorry, where the heck are we?
if you come down here to Savannah, I'll take you to the Grave Face Museum where we can learn about like cults and scary stuff and look at all kinds of shit.
Sweet, I
All
can
the
post.
cults down there.
We can take photos and post them to the Sick and Wrong Discord.
Yes, we can.
They would love that shit on there.
They
Oh, yeah.
would.
And we played pinball for like 5 hours. Yeah.
You say hours. When you say hours, do you mean minutes? I'm not a big fan of pinball.
Can you tell he's a fan of pinball?
Well, he can play for 5 minutes. I'll play for like an hour. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'll bring a Game Boy with me.
Yeah.
I dig pinball, but it's harder than it looks.
Yeah.
It's harder than it looks. It's not like in the video games.
An ex of mine, her and her mom and her sibling all like banded together and tracked down a vintage RoboCop pinball machine for their dad.
Oh,
Ooh.
Because he really liked the movie RoboCop.
Mhm.
it's kind of rad.
It was a
Yeah.
nice gesture. He never did anything with it and just pulled it into like a room in their basement and put a bunch of shit on it.
Oh,
He
boo.
this is an ex of mine that I've talked about before who was abusive and awful, and her dad was also pretty awful too. So she came by it naturally.
Yeah.
He does not deserve a RoboCop pinball machine.
No, he does not.
Well, she was no Daemon, because at least Daemon would be nice.
At least Daemon would be nice.
still
yes.
gaslight you.
You should be kind about
Still manipulate you, but at least she'd be nice about it.
At least she'd do it with a smile and a
Right.
soothing French accent.
And
Yeah.
creepy floating hair and a time motif.
it. Yes. And then we got Ryan Ox over there saying that AndrAIa and Matrix are closing systems that haven't been seeded yet. So those eggs that they're dropping everywhere, those are
I
the
got it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, and she is Daemon. Yeah, Rhinox explains everything that's going on, and Daemon's like, "Well, it's time for Matrix and AndrAIa to hear the word."
You must break a few eggs to make an omelette.
Yeah, and it's also
Do
revealed-
fromage.
Well, goddamn, Daemon, how'd you know I was hungry? I could go for an omelet right now.
Because you are always hungry. Hungry. How the fuck? Working on it.
We'll get there, folks.
Yeah,
And it's
we
also
won't.
revealed
That's
it's
okay.
revealed in that scene that Bob is now the only guardian that can create portals.
Right, because he merged with Glitch.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
So Andrea and Matrix, whether they know it or not, are effectively messing up Damon's master plan, stopping the eggies.
Yeah, we actually cut back to Bob's apartment, and he's got one of the CPU dudes with him. He's like, "Are you gonna be all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just got to access some energy, playing it off." And he's still, fading in and out. And you see his new car. He's got a new project going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wow, what happened? What happened to his car? Like,
He upgraded.
it's pretty badass. This car would definitely be right at home in the Bad Bob, like the Mad Max.
That's what I was thinking. Even though he's merged with Glitch and he's very different, you can tell it's the same Bob because he's purposely trying to make it match the Bad Bob episode vibe. He's like, "Man, do you guys remember that really cool mega truck?
Yeah.
What a game."
There was like a sweet guitar riff just
And Fog
playing
was
all
there.
the time.
Mhm.
Everyone was there and had a good time.
Enzo had a go-kart.
Enzo had a go-kart. Fong had a whirlycopter.
Brisket was there.
Megabyte was a truck. Everybody was having fun.
The user was the Batmobile. Those were the days.
Those were the days. So what's the gist here? They're on their hover bikes and
They run into the Guardians. They figure out that like whatever they're doing is like some kind of trap.
right, it's a trap and they're locked in there and they can't go back because Bob is passed out and he hasn't made the exit portal.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
And the portal AC has already been trashed. So
Something's amiss.
yeah.
And
So
well, this episode should be titled like "Things Just Get Worse in Every Single Way,"
Well-
because as Dot is kind of like being like, "Damn it, how do I, Dad? We're trying to work on a way to restore nulls. We've been working on it for years, like whole cycles here. Like you got to give me, you got to stay in there." And warning, incoming game,
Oh shit.
like right where they are, with like Hex and the nulls and Dot.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Micro Nullzilla here doesn't actually like flee when the GameCube starts coming down.
Dot runs away.
Yeah, everybody scatters, but usually like the nulls like flee from games.
Yeah, they
whenever
take off. Yeah.
Yeah. This one doesn't, which
Yeah,
I
it just-
found kind of interesting.
yeah, it just kind of stands there like a doof.
Yeah.
It's like, and then we cut to Dot's diner, and Mouse is like chopping up tomatoes and apples and stuff.
Showing
There's-
off.
Yeah, she's doing her best Raiden Metal Gear Rising Revengeance impression, slicing fruit with her high frequency blade.
She invented Fruit Ninja. And she's like, "Cecil," because she hears the incoming game. But check. And he's like, "What do I look like?" What does he say? Your errand boy or something like that.
So he
My
Cecil says some Cecil bullshit.
He says some Cecil bullshit. And what does she do? She like Zorro carves up his bow tie.
His
Yeah.
bow tie.
And he's
And
like,
then-
"Right away."
But then she like takes her high frequency blade and then cuts a big hole in the glass and leaps through it. And
Yeah,
I'm
she's
like,
"Put it on my tab."
And I'm like, and Cecil makes the comment that he's going to add that to the bill as well. But I'm like, lady, you could have just gone to the fucking door.
The door was 6 feet. It was almost more time.
Like, why was
That
that
being said, it's
necessary?
cool.
It's
Sometimes you're cool just for cool's sake.
Mhm.
well, yeah.
I'm with you there. And then like Cecil's like, I'll add that to the tab too. And it's like, lady, you know they have to replace the whole window panel? And those are huge window panels. It's like thousands of dollars of glass there. She should have
Thick
used
glass
the door.
too. Like that is glass that is designed to take like some kind of explosive blast.
Yeah. She just did that to be cool. Also,
Oh.
pay for the tie. Come on.
Yeah.
For real. And the only reason Mouse does this is because she sees little Enzo and friends going towards the GameCube.
Right. Because she's like, oh, no time to BS. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we cut to Dot going into Bob's apartment and she sees Bob on the ground. It's just like,
Passed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the GameCube ends up landing on them, and we end up in
Revenge of the
We end up in The Mummy.
Yeah.
complete with a user that's kind of like Brendan Fraser's character.
It's Brendan Fraser.
It is. It is based off
It's
that
Brendan
character.
Fraser. I mean, weird fat Brendan Fraser, but
Well, that's just Brendan Fraser now.
oh, how leave the man alone.
Well, have you seen him lately? He was he's in Doom Patrol.
Let
Like,
him be old. Let him gain some weight and get old.
He's older and chonk now.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Unless you're Tom Cruise, then it like the lack of thetans make you ageless or something.
That is what I am trying to do with myself right now.
Go to an auditing. Get all the thetans cleansed from you. I'll go get my auditing license for the Church of Scientology, and I'll cleanse the thetans from you.
We do have a Church of Scientology here in Victoria.
What?
Hello.
No, we do. I looked it up recently, or not?
Oh,
recently.
dude, I need to get in on that.
I looked it up a while ago.
Think of how much money I could make.
I did actually briefly consider. I was having like I was in kind of a really like weird place in my head a couple of years ago. I mean, let's be fair, I always am, but I was like looking at like religions or like philosophies or just like something to follow, just to like kind of give my life some more meaning.
Right.
This was before I started podcasting, mind you.
Right.
Um,
Podcasting.
but one of the things I did actually check out was Scientology, and I emailed them about it, and they actually emailed me back, which I didn't respond to, but then they emailed me again several times over the course of the next week. So I'm like, ooh, that's that seems like a red flag.
One of us. One of us.
We need money.
Think of how
Well, and that was another thing too. I'm like, fuck, I don't have any money to give these people.
yeah, you're useless to them.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
gonna want me anyway. As soon as they figure out like what my finances are like.
Yeah.
So Bob can't reboot. He doesn't
Yeah,
have
his
enough
dad-
energy to. Have we ever seen something like that, or is this the first time?
I think it's the first time, especially when it comes to trying to reboot.
Have we seen Glitch Bob in a game?
Not yet.
No.
Maybe he can't because he's fused with Glitch.
No, I think it's just because he's too weak. And
Okay,
doesn't
okay.
Dot say something to that effect?
Something
Well,
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just theorizing.
She asked him to pull up the game stats and he's like, I'll try. And he actually manages to read like what Glitch is trying to tell him. So we get a game overview. And then Dot goes and reboots to sexy Pharaoh Dot.
I kind of dig this look she's got going on here.
Me too.
Yeah, she's kind of got a Nook Cinnamon like vibes going,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? From like the Mummy, and I'm like, I dig it. Also, She's got abs.
Yeah,
He's
Abby's-
staying-
Man, if Bob had been able to reboot into Arnold Vosloo, like I would have been into that.
but Bob tries to reboot, falls on the floor. He does
And
not have.
I like what she says there, because she like looks down and Bob looks at her almost like she's referring to her outfit and her let's say she has a very ancient Egyptian push-up bra going on here, and she's like, I'd prefer a pair of 45s, and I'm like,
She kind of, to me, looks like a character out of like Civilization,
okay.
like one of the one of the like
Like
when
Cleopatra or something.
yeah, like one of the world leaders who come up. You'll get like this like cartoonish looking version of
Yeah.
them in
A little
their
cartoonish like introduction whenever you piss them off.
yeah, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And the animation quality is about on par with that too, So
Yeah. What happens there? Does she hide Bob in a sarcophagus?
that's
Yes.
exactly what she does.
Good.
Get him-
I like that. Like, get him out of the way, and so that the user doesn't blast him.
Yeah, but
Can
we
we just
cut back.
say how bad of a shot the user is?
Yeah,
He's
he's like
pretty bad.
shooting at like snakes or something like that.
He's shooting at Dot.
Mhm.
Pharaoh Dot misses. Instead of reloading, he just throws his gun away.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a little bit ahead, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's one scene. There's so many like little tiny scenes. We don't need to go to like, and then there's AndrAIa and they're on bikes, and yeah, but
Right.
there's one scene because it's cutting a lot here. It's like principal office, game, principal office,
Yeah,
AndrAIa and Enzo.
I'm just kind of lost now.
I'm around 1450, if anyone following along on Crave, but I'm only mentioning this principal office scene because it's funny. Hack and slash, Mouse is holding up little Enzo,
Right.
and he's like, let me go, you can't do this, I'm a renegade, holding him up by like the back of his shirt.
I think the exact line is, "This is not how to treat a renegade."
Yeah.
It is.
I love
wait.
that. That's so in lieu with our podcast. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that. This is no way to treat a renegade.
And Mouse is
And
drunk.
yeah, Mouse is like, Fong, we have a problem. And he turns around in the most tired voice in the world, and he's like, just one?
Oh, I know. Eh.
And I'm like, yeah, lots going pretty bad right now, huh? And then when she drops him, he's like, oh, I know about that one.
Yeah, Bob and Dot are in the game, and they need Bob to open the portal to save Matrix and AndrAIa, otherwise they'll be trapped forever. And then we cut away to Enzo and AndrAIa like flying around on their bikes. They end up on like this platform, like
Loading dock or
like a loading dock or something, where they run into this warehouse, and the Guardians like track them down.
they essentially hide.
Yeah,
Right.
they hide in a warehouse.
Yeah, hide in a warehouse, and they're not shooting any of them, and they make at some point they make a note that the Guardians aren't like shooting to kill them,
Yeah, it's a
so
search
they
and
figure
mission, not a search and destroy mission.
Yeah.
Which is funny because back in season 3, Moss Eisley episode, it's like it was literally a search and kill kind of thing. Search and kill while
Mhm.
retrieving for Bob.
Yeah, that was back when they just like shot first and asked questions later, and now I guess Daemon has such a hold on most of like the net and all of the Guardians that she doesn't care. Or sorry, she doesn't need she can be softer, especially now that she actually knows that AndrAIa and Matrix are from Mainframe,
Mhm.
Mhm.
or that's where they call home.
So back
Andrea's from a game I don't remember.
Under the Sea.
Yeah, it's canon. That game was called Under the Sea.
Speaking of games, we cut back to Dot fighting with the user. He has a sword. They exchange some blows. She like does like a roundhouse kick. But he subdues her by pulling out this little like Ankh amulet.
Right. She tries to suck his soul out, but he ages her with an Ankh.
And then
Yeah.
throws her a bowl.
Yeah, and she turns into like an old shriveling mummy, and the user sees this like floating like scroll thing. It's actually very video game looking. I'll
Kudos
give a
to
prop.
them, yeah.
Kudos to them. This actually looks like, especially of the time, like looks like a very like video game like objective, like a floating like rotating like scroll has light emitting. That's emitting light.
Scroll of life.
And that's how the user wins. Instead of just beating the game, he like, I don't know, like
Has to get
has
a
this
collectible.
shit-eating, he has a shit-eating grin, like has to like relish it or something. And then a random ass mummy comes out of a closed sarcophagus. Like chokes him out or something.
Yeah, grabs him and then sucks the life out of him.
Yeah. Can you
completely.
imagine being that user? You come this close to beating the game, but you turn around to like sneer at like one of the defeated enemies and then you lose on your like last life. Sucks to suck, dude. And they win.
Yeah, you know how many people like in Halo that I've ended up killing because they decided to like fuck around and like teabag someone?
They're in the process of teabagging someone else that they just killed, and because they're not moving, you like land a sticky or finish them off. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not paying attention. I just like come up behind them and just melee them or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser is like teabagging like Dot with his like sword.
Yeah.
And when as we find out it's Hex, she can reboot because she has an icon.
Yep.
But also because something happened to her. I'm presuming it's something to do with the nulls. Maybe it has something to do with her rebooting for the first time.
Could be
not-
her reformat from chaotic to good.
Yeah.
Right. Before at the end of the last episode, before the nulls completely engulfed her, like
Something was happening to her.
like whiteness was like spreading out of her icon.
And she was
So,
like, Bob, help.
yeah,
Right.
so she was being reformed. She's not viral anymore. She's a sprite.
Yeah. Gotta say,
I think her boobs got bigger.
I thought I wasn't going to like this because I've seen pictures of this, but I still like it. Her face has kind of she has an animated face now, but it still has like a cracked porcelain texture to it, even though it can move and express.
Yeah, it would be very easy to turn her look here with like just like strictly with like a different demeanor and maybe some different body language. You could straight up turn that into like a Japanese like horror enemy and like a Japanese survival horror game.
This could be scary.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. This could quite easily be like some horror movie shit.
Still got the corset though.
Now, before we got to the Hex portion of this conversation, there's a moment where Dot is on the ground. She's looking at the user moving towards the scroll. This is at like 1812, 1813. And she's looking at her icon. And she's like, am I going to have to start jumping games now? Am I going to have to convert to game sprite mode just like Enzo did?
She's getting ready to change to the AI. She's getting ready to double tap it and single tap it and become a game sprite to move with the game.
Yeah, it's a good
Good
catch.
catch.
Yeah, because she looked up at the user about to approach the scroll, and she looks down at her icon.
That's kind of a freaky, like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
When
This
I
is
had
like-
watched this earlier, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
Is Dot going to be lost in the games for the rest of the season?
Mhm.
Nope.
She just comes back like as old as Betty
Are
White.
we going to talk about how Hex's first strategy in the first game that she was in was to camp the end? It was to camp the goal. She's like, I'm just gonna wait in the sarcophagus, and then the last minute, like, come out. She's just camping the flag, which is a viable strategy.
Yeah.
It worked.
That's how when Apex Legends first came out, I was playing it for a while. I lost interest in it, but I'm not really into battle royale games, but I think Apex is probably the best of them.
A lot of
But,
people
like,
like Apex.
But my strategy was like I would usually just hide until almost everyone else was dead, and just slowly like move within the ring whenever I
Also,
had
just
to.
keep on the edge.
Just keep
and
on the
go
edge.
no further than you had to.
I've won so many matches that way. I would just like move into like I would always stay in the ring like whenever the ring would get smaller, but I would just stay hidden and let everyone else fucking kill each other.
Oh, so you'd hide until you could take like the last one or two people.
The last
out.
like 2 or 3 guys out, yeah. And
Oh, so you
yeah,
would actually hide. It wasn't just going minimal effort. Like you'd move with the ring and then just like sit tight.
and then just hide, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
The goal isn't to see how many people you can kill. The goal is to be the last one.
Well, exactly, and that was my line of thinking, and indeed it works. But apparently, there's like that gameplay tactic in Apex is like very frowned upon. I don't give a shit.
Then why is it in the game?
Yeah,
That-
it's a viable
As
strategy.
somebody who
damn it.
was very anti-camping in my Call of Duty days, I never tried to tell somebody not to, or be like, oh man, like, oh, stupid like camper. I'd be like, oh, freaking stupid camper like killed me, and then I would, equip a noob tube and blast the corner they were camping in.
And then you go and play Metal Gear Online, and immediately within seconds after spawning, you would just immediately get headshot by literally everyone in the entire game camping.
I was gonna ask how that was.
It was terrible. I couldn't get into it because it was better, the original version of Metal Gear Online with Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence on the PS2. That was a lot better. But when Metal Gear Online came to MGS4, like, no, fuck that. I like in Metal Gear Solid 5, there's 2 modes. There's like a typical like deathmatch type mode, and yeah, it's fucking like everyone just snipes. Like you'll walk like a couple of feet and you'll take a headshot. But there's
Feels bad, man.
There's another mode, an online mode where you have in the game you have your you have mother base and you have your forward operating base. And essentially the online mode is there's constantly this like tournament going on where online players can, and you have no interaction with this. Online players can try and invade your forward operating base and like steal resources, kill soldiers, kidnap soldiers and take them to their side, whatever. And it's actually a lot of fun, and you can like build up your defenses and whatnot.
Yeah, I've actually was always intrigued by that.
Yeah, so they that is the best version of Metal Gear Online, in my opinion.
Lady Glitch, what's your favorite Metal Gear Solid game?
The ones that you guys talk about?
All of them.
Good answer.
Survey
So-
said.
Survey says, ding. Top answer. Do you want to play or pass? Okay.
We're going to play. And speaking of playing, after we get done with the game here in this episode, Dot looks at Hex and she's like, Hex, I need your help. I need you to take Bob to the portal generator. I gotta get back to the war room. So Hex is like, do. Hey, Bob takes him on his arm. She tries to use her powers to get him out of there, but she has lost her powers. And Dot's like, what the fuck's going on? Hex, like, we've had our differences, but I need your help right now. And Hex is like, I've just tried and I can't fly.
But I've just tried and you're still here and I can't fly.
Yeah,
And like
she's
the weird like confusion in her own voice, because her entire life she's been able to teleport and fly and shoot fire, right?
Yeah, and now she's just a sprite. She doesn't have any viral powers anymore.
Yeah, she even asks Dot, she's like, I've lost my powers. How do I get in there?
Mhm.
And it's like, you got to start walking like everybody else, lady.
Very much back.
I actually really love the scene later with her and Bob.
No, I really like the scene with Matrix and AndrAIa prior to this upcoming scene where they're hiding out in the
They're
warehouse
chilling.
and they're chilling. And it's like, we're just hanging out here. And Andrea's telling Matrix, like, put gun away. We're not going to need gun for this. Like, I know
But I
there's
want gun. Gun
Yeah.
good.
It's like, there is another way. There's only 78 Guardians out there. I've been counting. He's like 78 to 2. Like, and you don't want me to use gun? And she's like, no, I've got a better idea. And she splits her legs and there's an exosuit box that she's sitting on.
That was cute. Yeah.
Yeah, so now we jump to this. You got all the Guardians out there. You got Matrix and AndrAIa coming out in their exosuits.
That was
so
pretty
they
hype.
they exit the warehouse with their power loaders. I think this is the first time we've seen 2 in one scene, so that's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Yep.
Hello, boys.
And so the Guardians are there, led by Turbo. So as
Who's
I was
got the
mentioning earlier,
creepiest smile on his face?
I am paused on that right now, ladies and gentlemen. That will be the episode art for. That will be the art for this episode.
Boy, am I happy to see you. Have you
Yeah.
heard the word of Daemon?
Yeah. So he's definitely not in control anymore. He's
He is the most insane, and this is from someone who's a fan of Hexadecimal. He's the most insane character I've seen in the entire show. His like huge, like it's not even a fake grin. It's not. I've seen somebody having a mental like breakdown, and that's the grin.
yeah.
That I can't. Fuck, man. That is great art. I'm gonna put that as my profile. Like, Twitter, like background. Just like Turbo, like.
Yeah, Turbo with his like insane grin that he has.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually really like this scene here because the Guardians like fucking World War Z like zombie rush. Matrix and AndrAIa with the power loaders.
Yeah.
And Matrix just like straight up like they start grabbing them and fucking like flinging them around.
Like kicking them in big swaths, like a T-Rex fighting like a bunch of ants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hex is flying in Bob's like souped up car.
Yeah. And Bob's like puking over the sides and he's like, okay, Hex, just drop me off here. It's fine. It's fine.
She's like, oopsie daisy, it's my first time. Give
And
it
then
up. So I don't like Turbo's face. That's not how you talk. You don't talk, well, unless you're me, you don't talk with a smile like that. It's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he pick Turbo up
He does.
in the
picks-
loader?
And
I
they
was like, why
shit
don't you want
talk
to be
each other.
closer to that guy?
Yeah. Turbo delivers a line though. He's like, it's time to stop fighting. You've been fighting all your life. Like, dude.
Also, Turbo's arms are bigger than Matrix's. Just want to point that out.
Yeah.
So he's clearly still taking his vitamins.
He's still on the roids.
He's still on the Daemon roids.
Yeah. And Damon's like, send down a Zoom room before someone gets deleted.
Let the word of the bird bring the peace you so rightly deserve.
Yep.
And it's like,
It's like-
no.
It's- Turbo are like shit talking to each other. AndrAIa's taking on all the shit by herself. And then she sees the Zoom room coming down and she kicks Matrix out of the way. And right at that point, the portal to mainframe opens.
I know.
Yeah, just a smidgen too late.
It's hard to dodge those Zoom rooms, man.
Yeah,
They're like mini game cubes. Almost.
Mhm.
Or I don't really know how to describe them. Because they slam down like it's a solid, like, well, it's a little virtual space. And,
So maybe-
You know what it reminds me of? Is it reminds me of the Bifrost in the the MCU.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
cool
a good
visual,
one.
just like a beam of light that like slams down on the ground and either takes someone away or drops them off.
That's a good visual. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a mo-
So Andrea's gone, and Turbo and Matrix are back in mainframe.
main. Yeah.
Turbo's here. Can't
Yeah.
wait for more creepy like conversations between him and like Bob or Dot
Right.
or Mouse. Man, Mouse is gonna want to punch that guy in the mouth.
Oh yeah.
He started. I think Turbo started all of this shit. Because if we go back to Mouse being set up, because a communication device with Guardians was a bomb. The bomb created the portal to the web. Turbo's to blame for all the bad shit on the show.
All his fault.
Intentionally or inadvertently?
Well, what was the idea? They were going to blow up all of mainframe
Yeah,
just to take out that web virus.
to contain the web creature. Yeah.
And Turbo was like, I bought you some time, but it's all I can do. And he like turns like a little dial. It gives him like a couple more nanos. And it's like, you're still killing them, dick.
Yeah.
I got the impression that's like standard procedure for dealing with a web creature.
That's how Bob knew. You're right.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah,
Bob knew. He's like, wait a second. I'm from the academy. I know how they deal with web creatures. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But they lied. They should have sent in one of their own. They lied to Mouse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's
You don't
been
lie.
bamboozled a lot on the show. No wonder she settled down in mainframe. Everyone else are douche.
Mhm.
Question. That speaking of Mouse, that I just thought of. Where is Ray? We haven't seen him yet, have we?
Ray does not have a speaking role in season 4. Like he's a background character for the most part.
Because he is in main. Did he leave?
No,
Can
he's
someone
I think
refresh my memory? I thought he pieced out.
he's dicking around somewhere.
He's dicking around.
So they
They
couldn't
couldn't
get
find an Australian dude.
so they couldn't get Mel Gibson's brother back to voice him.
No.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. I like Ray Tracer.
hmm
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but now that you're pointing it out, it's like, where the heck is he?
Yeah. We
Couldn't
may
they have
or,
gotten any Australian dude?
yeah, we
Hell,
may or may
Christopher
not see.
Siege doing a bad impression.
So Matrix is yelling into the void. He's yelling Andrea into the portal.
He does that a lot.
And then we cut to Damon's house.
Damon's gospel.
Yep.
Her
The Church of
her-
Daemon.
the Church of Daemon.
And Andrea's there in her exosuit, and Damon's just like, welcome. And Andrea lets out like this war cry. She
I love
fucking
it.
yells, and she swipes down her exo arm, but
I'm like,
Damon's
crush that 13-year-old girl.
and crush a bitch.
I like how she's all about nonviolence, and the second she, like you said, the choice of when to use violence.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I'm with you guys when I asked you that question, by the way. And the split second she sees Daemon, she's like, this bitch is getting crushed. Bob wouldn't do that, by the way. He doesn't even believe in destroying viruses. Andrea, no, fuck you. Get karate chopped by a power loader.
And Damon's just one finger. Literally one
Yeah,
finger.
that I was like, oh, wow.
She is very powerful.
She blocks this huge finger loader like Superman blocking like a falling building.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately like energy shoots from her and goes into the power loader, and it's not something that like makes you sick like it did Turbo. I guess when she directly infects you, it's like that right away, just like with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrea falls from her suit, and when she looks up, she's like, my lady, and she has like fuck me eyes going on.
Yeah.
Man. I
Yeah,
wonder
she-
how Matrix would feel like found out, some there's a
Yeah,
thing going
she's,
on there.
We'll get into it more in episodes coming up, but
Oh, God.
Andrea's like seems really thirsty for Daemon
Yeah.
after she
Like the first
goes
time
viral.
The first moment she realizes she's bisexual.
Yeah.
He's like, well, wait a second. And she's like, hey, you're just in time. And Daemon floats up in the air and like triggers something.
Mhm.
And she
And
activates all the eggs.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, all of the eggs activate even if they're not connected to Daemon's network.
Yeah. As long as the seed is planted, it's going to go off.
And then it reconnects, right? So that's why a lot more of the systems have been infected than what Dot and Fong and the gang thought would happen.
Well,
And
even the
Dot's-
systems that they had sealed, Mouse mentions that systems that they had sealed have gone viral. So everything they did was all for nothing, basically.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And what is it? It's like something like 92% of the web or sorry, of the net.
92.18% infected.
92.18 FM. Alphanumeric.
92%.
We ever have a radio station?
And
Yeah,
Fong
it'll be like 107.2 Laser FM, LAZ,
R.
LAZR FM.
Laser FM.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So what were you saying?
Pretty sure I've
Fong-
made that joke before on one of these shows.
at least once. Sorry.
Go ahead. Fong looks at Dot and he's like, Dot, what are we going to do? And Dot is just like so defeated in her face. And Fong is like screaming at her, Dot, Dot, Dot. And she's not responding.
Specifically, Fong is like, Dot, 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 dun 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 dun.
That's literally, that is how the episode ends.
Wikipedia says it is a direct reference to Metal Gear Solid.
It has to be.
It has to be.
We've been waiting for this moment.
And Metal Gear Solid was out by this time, had been out for a few years by
There.
the time this episode came out.
Our ranting a Metal Gear Solid episode technically fits with the episode. So you can't be upset with us.
Everything comes full circle.
Dun 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 dun.
And I guess we'll find out next week if Dot hits continue or hits exit.
Nice clipping.
Man, wow, things aren't good, huh? Because it was the weight of mainframe on her shoulders for like ever, and now it's like the weight of the world.
Yeah, of the entire net.
Yeah, quite literally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, things aren't looking good. You know what? I've decided I don't like Daemon. I'm fine with her character, but like, you know what? No.
She bad.
Even when Hex
bad lady.
did bad stuff, she did it because she didn't know the repercussions of her actions.
But
Or she
Damon's
was
actually
emotional.
knows and she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah. She just wants to troll everybody into clicking on
All right, that was the episode. Episode 2 of season 4 of ReBoot, Crossnodes. Christina,
Yes.
why don't you tell us about our esteemed rating system, our
Yes, so-
esteemed and binding rating system that we have here on the podcast.
Alrighty, so here on the Alphanumeric podcast, we have a 4-tiered rating system in which we grade our episodes from like super bad to super good, and we name them as follows. This is bad, very bad, then I don't think so. And then that was easy enough. And at the top, we've got alphanumeric. So there's our 4 tiers. Cal, what would you rate Crossnodes as?
So much has happened, just like last time, because so much happens. It's like, oh, it's really good, but like nothing definitively memorable, if that makes sense. Like all of this information, like, and the thing is, it's like, oh, Hex's form changed. Cal's got to rate it alphanumeric, but like, this is just moving pieces of a greater puzzle along.
And I think the reason for that is because this was envisioned as these 4 episodes were envisioned as one movie.
Okay.
And I've said before, I said last week, and I've told Lady Glitch off air that I think season 4 works better watched as 2 movies than it does as 8 episodes.
Right. Okay. Well, just this chunk of it though, I'm gonna have to give a low. That was easy enough. It's not bad. Like, no, I like all of the info. I like the game. It was very gamey. Just like nothing important happened. That's it. So that was easy enough.
Okay.
It was all right.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it was all right.
Siege, what would you grade this episode as?
I will echo what I will echo Cal's sentiment and also give it a low. That was easy enough. It I kind of liked the game. We weren't in it very long. But I liked the look of everything. I liked all of the references in this episode. I hated the gospel number at the beginning, as I talked about when we started this episode of the podcast. Any excuse to talk about Metal Gear and Stargate, I'm there for.
2 in 1.
I really liked the power loader scene, just like flinging away like rage virus zombies, like rushing.
Yeah.
I
thoroughly enjoyed Creepy Turbo.
But it's kind of an episode of just stuff happening as opposed to any like the plot actually being driven forward in any meaningful way. And I guess like sure the Daemon has now infected the entire net, but like that kind of just
kind of already happening.
Yeah, and that kind of just happens out of nowhere at the end of the episode. I'm sure someone will downvote this video for me saying this, but
how dare you?
Yeah, anyway, so that's my rating.
All right. And I'm going to echo both of your sentiments and also give it a low. That was easy enough. Like, I appreciated the animation. Like, there are some really pretty scenes. Like, I know you hate the gospel number at the beginning, Siege, but I thought like Mike's purple sparkly outfit was just pretty rocking right there.
Yeah, his James Brown outfit.
Yeah.
And Daemon going green at the end of the episode, like infecting the whole net, like that's just brilliant color right there, and just simple shit like that. But also echoing what you said, Siege, about the plot not really being driven forward. There was also not a lot of character development in this. Like, yes, we get like the flashback with Dot and her dad practicing for his big old speech with the gateway. And like we see that adult Dot really misses her dad. Like that's really the only point that stood out to me for that. And I'm big on like finding those little pieces for that character development to think about. And little Enzo having his temper tantrum about being called, young Enzo, and being called, like little Matrix right now. Like that was just hilarious. But
that was funny, yeah. But that doesn't really contribute anything to the episode.
It really doesn't. It's just like a bunch of like point, but no forward motion until the very end about Daemon's infection as a full.
That's a good summary.
Yeah. So a very low. That was easy enough for me as well. So
you're right. There's lots of little things that are great. Enzo having a tantrum, right? The like Dot like being like, oh shit, am I gonna have to stay in the game? Like lots of potential, but they don't linger on those moments. They just move things along.
And it's kind of like in a movie, like in general, just in movie media in general, like you got your first half of the movie, it builds you up to the second half of the movie with little bits of info.
Mm-hmm. If they had lingered on the emotional repercussions of Hexadecimal losing her powers, but they don't. It's like 15-second scene. Dot, it's shown her crying and stuff like that. but before it takes a toll on you, or you can put yourself in their shoes, it just moves on to the next. Oh,
Yeah,
AndrAIa. I didn't give a shit about what was happening to Matrix and AndrAIa this episode, and they're some of my favorite characters.
Yeah, on Spaceflies, BFD.
Yeah, and yet that was the least interesting part of the episode.
Although
So sometimes less is more.
Matrix screaming for AndrAIa was a little bit heart-wrenching at the end, but again, it moves so fast you don't have time to process and relate.
They don't linger on these emotional moments.
Nope.
Yeah, almost, but not quite.
Very much.
All right. That's been episode 45 of Alphanumeric, the world's foremost reboot podcast. If you want to support the show, go to Patreon, patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. We're starting at the $5 and up tier. You get access to hours each and every week of preamble audio of us kind of just talking about this, that, or the other thing before we start recording the shows proper. You also get a monthly commentary track where we watch all as a group, like watch a movie and talk over it together. We recently did the entire Matrix trilogy, so go check that out. At the $10 and up tier, you get our weekly news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight. And you also get to pick a show for me and Cal, to review a random episode of on another one of our podcasts, the Lasercomb podcast. In the month of January, we are dedicating every episode of the podcast to a show as chosen by our patrons. So patreon.com/lasercomb, $10 and up if you want to get in on that. It's also a $25 tier, which gets you all of that, and I send you a t-shirt after 3 months. So go check that out. Social media. If you want to follow the show, on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/lasercomb. Once again, LAZORCOMB. Kind of the central hub for this and all of the other various podcasts that we do, and we do a lot of them at this point. Twitter. You can follow the show proper at Alphanumeric Pod, or you can follow me at Lasercomb for the third and final time, LAZORCOMB. Lady Glitch, you are on Twitter as well, correct?
Yes, that's right. Lady Glitch 619.
And Cal is also on the Twitters, yes?
Yes, NeoCal, NEO_KAL.
Go give any and all of us a follow on the Twitters. We will be back next week with episode 46 of Alphanumeric, where we will be covering season 4, episode 3. What's love got to do with it? Do with it. Because who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?
That's right.
Until then, I have been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And I'm NeoCal.
I'm Lady Glitch.
And until next week, what's love got to do with it? Got to do with it.
You've been fighting all your life, boy. Time to pick her in. Come on home. Hear the word.
There's whipped cream where we're going.
Where we're going, we don't need whipped cream. I don't know.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.